do think you do not reach high office, with a few exceptions in this country, without just being a very narcissistic, terrible person. And that's part of the problem. It's such a dirty game that nobody with morality and humility said. And I'll say, like, I'll give a few exceptions to Thomas Massey. That's basically it.
Yeah. No, there's like whoever it is who doesn't meet with, I mean, even Rand Paul, like anybody who doesn't meet with the lobby industry and anybody who isn't like a corporate tool. Bernie too, you know, and even though I have issues with Bernie, but no, they're all just in it in a way that it's just, there's no saving this. Like
I think it's corrupting too. Like once you get in there, you kind of can't escape it. And I think that's what happened to Bernie. Like I do think he, you know, has a good heart and probably is a good person, but it's just an inherently corrupting profession.
Yeah.
When I think about what needs to be spent, you know, something as simple as pushing forward on single payer. And ultimately, I also revert back to how we ended up in this situation right now. You know, AOC, who still has political gravitas, I'm not going to say that she doesn't have it, but she is somebody who clearly made a decision. Who knows when it happened, but made a conscious decision that her career was more important. Just like Obama made a very conscious decision early on in his presidency that his, not only his career, but his ability to get rich was more important than being a president that could have a true legacy that would be talked about for generations to come. He's now considered in many ways a failure, which is unbelievable. You know, his legacy in many ways is Trump getting elected twice in two non-consecutive terms. And so by that measure, you now look at the road that AOC decided to take, and she ultimately thought that she was playing her cards right in ultimately trying to get a position on, I don't want to, it's not appropriations. What was the, it may be in the tweet. I'm going to pull it up. And so, okay, so oversight, which is still a very important committee. But according to Power of the People, Jerry Connolly, who has terminal cancer, unbelievable, wins Dem steering nod for House Oversight, beating AOC 34-27. I'd love to see who the votes were. I mean, if our Congresswoman, your Congresswoman now, Jen, had a vote in this, I'm pretty sure we know which way she went. After Pelosi waged a last-minute campaign to tank AOC's bid, this is what working within the Democrat Party gets you: nothing, and why many of us have left the party to vote third party.
Oh, AOC Pelosi, that's so disappointing for her. It must be so. Like she really thought that she was sucking up to Mama Bear there. I guess that didn't quite work out so well.
Yeah.
And what is the point? Like, I understand that you want to get on a committee, but what does that do for regular people? Like, if you've staked so much of your political career on this idea of, I'm going to climb the ranks, what is that going to do? You think you have any more effect on the outcome of what actually will affect policy and the betterment, the lives of people, than what Giuliani did?
But I think it's sort of human nature that when you end up, you know, you end up in a profession and you want to be better than the other people in that job. It's like, it's just how human nature works. So your natural inclination is to try to climb the ranks in that, without regard to I mean, I think you have to be an exceptional person and you have to work hard to check that instinct, which, like, you know, I have to do too. And I was kind of like a rising star on the libertarian right and free speech First Amendment lawyer. I was on Fox News all the time. And after October 7th, I mean, I knew if I took the position I did that I was going to tank my, in a way, tank my prospects. And I did. Like, I don't get invited anywhere anymore. And my I thought, okay, maybe it's just a coincidence. And then my colleagues tell me they go to, you know, events and everybody complains about me. And they're like, why is she still working there? Why don't they fire her? And how can you even talk to her? She's such an anti-Semite, which is ridiculous if you see, you know, my tweets. But in any event, I mean, it's not easy. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, did I do the wrong thing for my son? Like,
no,
you know, he's the most important thing for, you know, to me.
How old is he? How old's your son?
He's almost a year now.
Oh, okay. You have baby.
Yeah. He was really little last time I was on this.
You did the right thing, and you did the right thing, because if you are not true to who you are, that'll never be the right thing for your kid, no matter what.
You know, Jenin,
I
we've
like-
never actually asked a guest before this, but I think it's probably important to note. You know, a lot of times we see the regulars, whether it's MSNBC, CNN, or Fox News, the three main cable networks, but also, you know, you have the Sunday morning shows. How does it work in terms of compensation? Because I would imagine a lot of I don't want to not be invited onto these shows. I don't want to not be invited to these parties. I would imagine a lot of it is monetarily appealing to people. Would you say that that's a big part of it?
I actually never made any money. You have to be,
okay.
I was sort of reaching the point where I might have been, but I wasn't that sought after yet. But it's definitely like a thing at work. Like, okay, you're getting our work out there. So I would say indirectly made me money in terms of my value to my employer. And also like sort of reputationally, like, oh, you're, on Fox News all the time. Ooh.
Yeah, but then it's also like it's almost like a false pretense in some respects, because, you could get on these shows and you could get the exposure, but then you think about the people that start following you on social media.
Yeah.
The people who truly follow those shows and then end up following personalities on social media in particular, they are the most drone-like politicos that exist. And if you deviate from the main talking point in any way, shape, or form, and only on one issue, it doesn't even have to be an ideological shift in any way. It could just be this one thing, like Israel, for example, that they don't agree with. You are immediately cast aside. It's like, bad person.
Absolutely. I mean, I found that out after October 7th, like very quickly.
And it's true it's true in the left too. We call them peppers.
Yeah,
they're progressive except for Palestine.
Yeah. And how that ultimately comes to an end, I'm not 100% certain. But I would imagine that as we enter into a year that is going to be very unique, to say the least, who knows what to expect with Trump? One thing I do know that will happen within his first 100 days is that he's not going to blame the parliamentarian about getting something passed that he really wants. I don't.
Did you guys watch the interview, Tucker Carlson's interview with Jeffrey Sachs?
I have not watched it yet, but I will tell you, I sent a tweet on Jen and I's behalf to Yashar Ali because he
said he hates him. I know.
He trashed Jeffrey Sachs. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind?
You mean like Professor Jeffrey Sachs?
He trashed him.
Why would one do that? He's like the nicest guy ever.
Because Jeffrey Sachs, who is a total liberal lefty, and Tucker Carlson, who is a total populist righty, have a complete are in complete agreement on endless war, particularly in Ukraine and Israel. And so because of that, this is like, I have to remember who's buttering my bread here. And so Yashar Ali is attacking Jeffrey Sachs because he's saying what an absolute waste these two wars are. And he's like attacking him for, he doesn't understand nuance. I'm like, are you fucking crazy?
It was about Syria, I think, right?
I think so. I think it was like Israel's expansion into Syria. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. The Syrians are thrilled that Israel is there.
No, they're not.
I don't think so. I don't think
my stepmother is Syrian, and she emigrated here in 2019. So she's like, she spent her first 45 years in Syria, and she's like very upset. But she did say opinion in Syria is divided. It's not, but she thinks Assad got an unfair rap. She said she knows for certain the chemical attack thing was faked, and frankly, she was telling me the story, and her English isn't that good, so I didn't quite understand it. But she was like explaining to me why she knew that to be true. And was just saying that the situation with the rebels taking over was scary, and especially for minorities. And she's a Muslim, but she belongs to a sect called the Ismailis that's sort of considered minority. So she was scared for her family.